Deep in the California redwood forest, the most powerful men in the world gathered every summer in complete secrecy. They wore dark robes. They carried torches. They stood before a 40-foot stone owl, and they performed a ritual called the Cremation of Care. This wasn't fiction. CBS, NBC, and ABC all confirmed it was real. Presidents attended. Billionaires attended. The men who decided which wars you fought and what news you watched, they all attended. And for over a century, they kept it hidden from you. Until someone got inside with a camera. July 2000. Filmmaker Alex Jones knew what he was about to do could ruin his life. Maybe even end it. He stood at the edge of Bohemian Grove with a hidden camera tucked under his jacket. The place had a reputation. Attack dogs, armed security, rumors about what happened to people who got too close. But he went in anyway. He climbed through the forest, hiding behind ancient redwood trees that blocked out the moonlight. And as darkness fell completely, he saw something that would haunt him forever. Through his shaky, grainy footage, hundreds of men emerged from the shadows wearing hooded robes. Their faces were hidden. Their voices echoed in strange chants. Torches flickered against the massive trees, casting twisted shadows everywhere. And then Jones saw it. A 40-foot concrete owl rising from the edge of the lake. Its wings spread wide. Its hollow eyes stared down at the robed figures below. He kept filming as a high priest in elaborate ceremonial robes began speaking. His voice boomed about destroying their burdens, about freeing themselves from conscience and guilt. Attendants brought out a human-shaped dummy they called Dull Care. They placed it on a funeral pyre at the owl's feet. Then they set it on fire. The men didn't just watch. They cheered as the flames climbed higher. They applauded and celebrated like they were watching fireworks. And then came the most disturbing part. A voice boomed across the lake. Deep, authoritative, inhuman. The owl was speaking. "Your cares are destroyed," it declared. "You are free." That voice belonged to Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in America. The newscaster who had reported on presidential assassinations and the moon landing was now the voice of their stone god. Jones escaped that night and released the footage to the world. The internet exploded with theories and questions, but the mainstream media stayed silent for months. Too strange, too risky, too powerful, until finally, under massive pressure, CBS, NBC, and ABC confirmed it. Bohemian Grove was real. The ritual was real. The owl was real. The only question that remained, why were the most powerful men on Earth doing this? In 1872, a group of artists and writers in San Francisco formed the Bohemian Club. It was supposed to be a creative sanctuary. But within years, everything changed. Wealthy businessmen started joining. Railroad tycoons, banking moguls, industrial giants. They had money and they wanted in. The artists were pushed out. The club became exclusive, elite, powerful. By the 1890s, they bought 2,700 acres of redwood forest in Northern California. They called it Bohemian Grove. Every July, they gathered there for 2 weeks. But they were paranoid about privacy. They hired armed guards. They banned all cameras. They threatened anyone who talked. Their motto said it all. "Weaving spiders come not here." Translation: no business talk, no scheming, just whatever happened in those woods. But what exactly was that? They built over 100 camps throughout the forest. Each one housed different groups. Politicians in one camp, media executives in another, corporate CEOs in a third. But they all gathered for the same ritual at the base of the owl. Nobody knows exactly when the owl statue was built. Some researchers said it represented Moloch, an ancient god linked to child sacrifice. Others claimed it was Minerva, the Roman goddess of wisdom. The club insisted it just symbolized knowledge. But then why did they worship it like a god? The Cremation of Care wasn't just theater. It was the foundation of everything at Bohemian Grove. Here's how it worked. Night fell. The forest went black except for torches creating eerie shadows. Members wore hooded robes and gathered at the lakeside, facing the owl. Funeral music played through hidden speakers, dark, haunting. The high priest emerged in ceremonial robes. He gave a dramatic speech about the weight they carried, the impossible decisions they made, the burden of conscience. He called this burden dull care, and tonight, they would destroy it. Attendants brought out the effigy, a human-shaped dummy wrapped in cloth. It represented everything they wanted to escape: guilt, responsibility, morality. They placed it on a boat and pushed it across the lake toward the owl. The priest kept speaking, building intensity. He called on the owl to accept their offering, to consume their cares, to free them. The boat reached the shore. They lifted the effigy and placed it on a funeral pyre at the owl's feet. The priest raised his arms. Silence. Then someone lit the fire. Flames erupted. The effigy burned. The men cheered and applauded as it turned to ash. And then the owl spoke. That deep, booming voice echoed across the water. Walter Cronkite's voice declaring they were free from care, free from conscience, free from the rules that governed everyone else. After the ceremony ended, members returned to their camps for 2 weeks of drinking and crude behavior. No cameras, no accountability, no consequences. But here's the real question. What did they do with that freedom? September 1942. World War II raged across Europe and the Pacific. Millions were dying. Cities were being bombed to rubble. And in the middle of all that chaos, a secret meeting happened at Bohemian Grove. They called it the S1 Committee meeting. The attendees weren't random businessmen. These were top nuclear physicists, military officials, and government leaders with the highest security clearances. They gathered in the woods to finalize something that would change human history forever: the Manhattan Project, the atomic bomb. Let that sink in for a moment. The decision to build the most destructive weapon humanity had ever imagined wasn't made in the White House or Pentagon. It was made at Bohemian Grove, in those same redwood forests, within walking distance of that 40-foot owl. Days or weeks after these men had performed the Cremation of Care, after they had ritually freed themselves from conscience and guilt. Was that just a coincidence? The Manhattan Project moved forward. Over the next 3 years, thousands of scientists worked in absolute secrecy. On August 6th and 9th, 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 200,000 people died, most of them civilians. Women, children, elderly, vaporized in an instant or burned alive in the aftermath. The world was never the same. The Manhattan Project wasn't the only world-changing decision made in those woods. For decades, American presidents attended Bohemian Grove before and after their elections. Richard Nixon went, Ronald Reagan went, both George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush were members. Henry Kissinger was a regular attendee. So was Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, the architects of wars that killed millions. Every major media executive in America had connections to the Grove. The heads of CBS, NBC, ABC, they all attended or knew members. Corporate CEOs from the biggest banks, oil companies, tech firms, and weapons manufacturers gathered there year after year. Think about what that means. Politicians who declare wars sitting in camps next to bankers who finance those wars. Military officials planning invasions alongside defense contractors who profit from them. Media executives who control the narrative sharing drinks with the government officials they're supposed to be reporting on. All in one place, all behind locked gates, all protected by total secrecy and armed guards. And towering above it all, watching everything, was the owl. After Alex Jones released his footage, the Bohemian Club went into damage control. They couldn't deny the Grove existed. The proof was too clear. So instead, they downplayed it. Just theater, they said. A harmless tradition. Nothing sinister. They called it a summer retreat for stressed executives who needed to relax. But if it was harmless, why the armed guards? Why the legal threats against anyone who tried to photograph it? Why keep the guest list completely secret? The answers never added up. Former staff members who spoke about it described an atmosphere that went way beyond simple relaxation. They witnessed behavior that would destroy careers if it became public. They overheard conversations suggesting decisions were definitely being made. One ex-employee described hearing 2 members discuss manipulating a Senate vote. The official story was that no business happened at Bohemian Grove, but the evidence said otherwise. Today, the Grove still operates. Every July, the same rituals happen. Security is tighter now after Jones's infiltration. Nobody gets in anymore, but the membership keeps growing. tech billionaires have joined bankers and politicians. And every summer they gather to burn conscience in effigy. They free themselves from the morality they expect you to follow. Then they return to their positions of power, making decisions that affect your life. The footage exists. You can find it online. You can see the robed figures, the burning effigy, the massive owl. It's all documented. So what are they really doing in those woods? What happens when the most powerful people on Earth think nobody's watching? What decisions are made after conscience has been cremated? We may never know the full truth, but one thing is certain: they're desperately trying to keep you from finding out. The powerful always have secrets, and Bohemian Grove is just one of them. There are more stories they've tried to bury, more truths hidden behind locked gates and classified documents. But we're digging them up. We're exposing what they hoped you'd never learn. Subscribe to Beyond the Forgotten for more secrets they don't want you to know, because the truth is out there, and we're bringing it to light.